Well, guys, let's pivot real quick and go into current homeowners. So people who own a house, let's talk about the state of like refinancing right now. What should people be looking at? What should they be doing? What should they be avoiding? Yeah. I know that we have been taking a lot of phone calls or DMs from people saying like, hey, what about a home equity line of credit? Still because they got this golden handcuffs with these low rates on their first mortgage. So, what are you advising people as far as their home equity? How strategic are you telling them to be? Are you bailing people out? What's happening on the front lines right now?
We are hearing a lot of phone calls, but it's beyond the phone calls. There's a lot of people that are now tapping into their equity with a HELOC, or they're just thinking of refinancing, Andy. Consumer credit card debt is still increasing. It's still at an all-time high, and these interest rates, they're still high. Yeah. We haven't seen the Fed reduce the Fed funds rate, so we're not seeing any reduction in that either. So we're seeing these APRs being high where people are like, they're very challenged. Everything they've been doing they've been putting on their credit card. And we see it. Not only are we getting the calls, I like all the calls, but no, these are escrows that are going in, to help rescue some of these clients out of a situation where it's not favorable for them.
Yeah.
And, we have a few where they just have no choice, but we have to do a cash out refinance. Not a home equity line of credit. You have to do the cash out refinance because it just benefits them because their credit card debt is so high that the interest rates are so much higher than just getting an equity line of credit. It makes no sense.
Wow.
It's just best. Let's get this. Let's pay off that credit card. Because remember, when you get in a line of credit, what a lot of people don't understand, if it's not to repair your home or do home improvements, the interest will not be a tax write-off.
Right.
I'm not a tax person, right? But that's what I've known to happen. In this other case, if you are paying 80, 100, we're saying more like 180 to 200,000, which is pretty crazy.
For a HELOC?
No, son. I'm talking about a refinance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For a full refinance.
Got it.
It's just beneficial to pay off all that credit card debt and then just have one loan. And now all that interest that you're paying into it becomes a tax write-off. Mm-hmm. So it's very different than when you're doing a line of credit and I paid off credit card and then you have to prove I want to take tax deductions on this. Well, did it go
they're not for
repair?
They're not for capital improvements.
Now it's different. So there's a greater benefit. And now lines of credit, depending on your credit, and we're talking about people that have $150,000 to $200,000 worth of debt. You're talking about their credit scores are not in their favor either, because remember, it's credit utilization. It affects your credit. You may be making your payments on time, and we see a lot of this. I'm like, what? You had a 780 credit score when we first started. What happened? Well, 2 years later, they incurred all this credit card debt, and now I run the credit, I see everything being paid on time, but their credit utilization is like 80, 90%. And so that affects your credit scores. Therefore, now you're talking about 640, 660. The interest rate on a HELOC is going to reflect that, and it's not too pretty.
It does.
It's not too pretty.
And you're talking about a position now where you maybe have less strategic advantage, then now you're just kind of more being cornered about what you can do.
Absolutely.
Versus like being selective on the best of multiple options.
That's correct. So now at that point in time, it's better to just go with a full cash out because your interest rate's going to be more in your favor versus going with the line of credit that's going to be more like anywhere 12, 13%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it's just, it's great to have options. So what I always tell our clients, and we do these calls quite often, is prepare yourself. Don't wait till the last minute. If you already see that you're getting that debt, let's do a line of credit and let's just have a HELOC right there. The good thing about a HELOC is you're only going to pay based on what you use. So unlike a HE loan where they're just going to give you a lump sum of money, you start making monthly payments, that's not for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Have an emergency plan in case of emergency, break glass open. You know what I mean? Let's have a HELOC on that and let's just see okay, it's there.
Adding on to what to what Will said, I've been feeling a lot of calls and past clients want to get the HELOC, and what I've ran into is that the debt to income ratio actually is way too high. What I mean by that is that the monthly payment for your mortgage actually gets calculated for your DTI payment. When you do a cash out refinance, you're not factoring in that monthly mortgage payment, therefore only going based off your monthly payments. So we tried to do a HELOC for one of my clients. We weren't able to because his debt to income ratio with that mortgage payment just completely took us off that 50% range. his goal was to literally consolidate all his debt into one loan. He's paying around $3,700 in monthly credit card debt. He has 2 big Amex cards that he's literally paying like a whole bunch. And he's like, I don't care what I have to do. I just want to make sure I can consolidate all my debt. So we tried the HELOC route. That didn't work out. And, me thinking like, okay, well, your problem is that you need to pay down debt. Well, hey, bro, you have another house. Why don't we look at, taking some money out from that? We did the math. I compared what the HELOC payment would be, which was like $1,100 for the $100,000 that he wanted to take out. We're going to be doing a cash out refinance. Same thing. His payment difference just from the HELOC to his mortgage payment is going to increase by $657. He's currently renting the property for $215,100 a month. His mortgage payment is around $1,600, so he's only bridging a gap of maybe like $300.
Wow!
So I gave him the option: you either have the opportunity of increasing your rent, or you just eat that difference. But you've put back in your pocket over like $3,000.
Well, yeah, he's paying $3,700 in monthly obligations for credit. That's crazy.
Ridiculous. And we just did his refinance last year on his like rate and term. But he's like, hey, I've amounted to all this debt. I literally just want to get rid of it. Like I'm tired of paying all these payments. And after I tell it, I'm like, dude, that's a lot.
And that's the thing. Like every once in a while, I respond to comments in YouTube where people are like, "That's crazy. That's terrible." But like, I that might be not this situation may not be true for you. Maybe you're in a better budgetary situation or whatever. May not be true for you, but it is true for some people who've taken on debt for whatever the reason is, but their house is the only place left for them to get some relief from that. So although it might seem, if you're hearing a story like this for the first time, that what Brian's talking about with $3,700 of monthly obligations, like that is a lot of money. I'm not going to pretend that isn't a lot, but it's also not an over dramatization of what's true for some people and in high cost areas where equity has gone up by 30, 40, 50% in the last couple of years. The house literally might be the only thing left to help save them.
And keep in mind, he's bringing in maybe a little bit over $8,000 a month. So he's using a lot of his income. He has a second home. Luckily, he splits it with his sister. But the biggest thing here for me was that there is options there. And when you do want to move forward and you have to do something, what I said, disassociate yourself from the fear of the high rates. His first response was, well, what's my rate going to be?
Wow.
And then because he's coming from a 2.625 to a 6.
Nobody wants to
6.875, right? And he's like, yo, like what the hell? But I'm like, yo, Jules, let's look at the numbers. Let's break it down. This is how much you're paying over here combined. This is how much you'd be paying now. What's the difference? He's like, well, it's only like $600. Like, I'm like, exactly. But look how much money you're putting back in your pocket. He's like, all right, let's do it. Like, it makes sense. And I think those are the conversations we need to be having with our clients when they fear the rate. Oh, my rate, this and that. Well, let's look at the payment. How does the payment look like for you? Let's focus on that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Brian, because it's one thing for people to think that we just played that quick, their little convenient shell game. No, don't look at the rate. No, don't look at the price. It's like no, that's not what it's about. It's about the entirety of what's happening and what the outcome is of that thing. And again, like I'm talking like we take a shellacking in the comments, which it's not always bad, but for those of us who have these conversations regularly with people, it's not about redirecting their attention off of something that's bad. It's about helping people remember what it is they asked us for in the beginning. Like, we need relief. I need help. How can I get out of this situation? And sometimes the answer is not the most prettiest answer, but it's the most functional for the time being. And you can address it later. Long-term, play this one out. If he is in a situation where there is the inability to continue paying for that house in 5, 6, 10, 12 years, you can still sell the house. So you can still sell the asset because you own it. So those of you on the outside looking into real estate, sorry, you can't do that right now. But owners, and you're in the situation that Brian's talking about, you still have an out on the other end of this.
And that was his goal. He's like, I need to tap into my equity. He wanted to go the HELOC route because of the rate. He's like, I don't want to touch my low rate. But when the motivation is bigger than that payment or that rate like factor, then you're really going after, the actual problem. And that's what we solved. We're like, hey, forget, the rate. I get it. It's a higher rate. But do you need the solution? And is it here? He's like, yeah, so let's do it.
The good thing is he put himself in a great position to actually own 2 properties, right? And these things happen. So
VA client.
In case of emergency, these things happen. If you had no home, where do you go to, right?
You don't.
Well, let's just say that they were really good and they put money in their retirement plan and they're able to do that. You're still tapping into a place where you're thinking, I'm going to utilize this money for retirement. But now I can't do that because I got to get out of a situation where maybe I had a family situation that I had to pay somebody else's debt, very common,
Yeah.
You know, probably had an accident that didn't have the proper insurance, had to cover that, or probably went to the hospital. My medical bill, my deductible was X amount, and they didn't cover certain things. These things happen. These
are
are
real
world.
scenarios.
Yeah.
These are true life events
Yep.
that do happen. You know, and so a lot of times, as much as we want to be well prepared, we're not. But the beauty of it, that if you did own a home and you've owned it for many years, that property went up in value, and now you have something where you can lean back on and help you support a situation to get you out of a situation you didn't want to be in. And then you kind of learn a lesson. Then you go back and you're like, maybe building a budget now is going to have to be an important thing, so I can really understand how to utilize my credit and keep those high credit scores, you know, where they're supposed to be at in order to have more options.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just a situation we put ourselves in, and we have to go and learn it. You know, and there's just times, I mean, I'm sorry to use this, and I feel very bad for the people in Texas, you know, for everything they're going so hard they work for, and these floods just came out. You think they planned that?
No, you can't do nothing about that.
But they're going to have to now figure out a solution how to get around it.
Yeah.
You know, and these are the things that are happening with us right now. It's unfortunate that, and I'm going kind of sideways with this, but the economy says we're doing great, but I don't see that happening. And most people, I'm getting more and more of the calls like, what do I do? How do I tap into my equity?
Yep.
How do I get out of this situation? I need to pay off this debt. I don't want to lose that 2.25% interest rate. And some people are just giving into it and just saying, you know what, the hell with that, because I need that emergency fund so I can get out of this, and I can feel like, whoo, I can breathe. And guess what happens when you can breathe and you start paying off your debt? You start thinking clear. It's a funny thing what the mindset shift does. And now you're like, whoa, now I will control this. I can do that. And as you start building yourself up, if you put yourself in a mindset where, hey, if I had $3,000 worth of debt, right, and I paid off everything now, I'm going to just start putting $500 back into my principal, or I'm going to throw into a retirement account where I'm earning higher interest than what I'm already paying.
You're already used to paying
There's
that.
other ways to leverage your situation.
Yeah.
And those are the things we teach.
Yeah.
One thing we don't do is take orders.
And I think
what I
that's
was
the part of this where this it's the strategic and tactical part is, you know, it's one thing to kind of get out of the bad situation, but it's another to then turn that into something that's tactical and actually advances your financial situation in other aspects, whether
Absolutely.
it's advancing your pay down of your mortgage or saving it or saving plus investing it. That is a really smart way to take that, what would be sort of perceived as a negative, and turn it into a positive.
I mean, Andy, we have a situation right now that we're going through. The person's going through pre-foreclosure right now, and his equity's being eaten up right now by, one, I can't make my payments. Second, I'm incurring attorney fees on it. And so what are they going to end up making at the end of the day? They should have kind of revisited the situation. Luckily, we're representing the buyer and getting a good deal, you know? So it's working out for us, but for the seller, unfortunately, you know, sometimes it's too late. Your credit is now messed up, so there's no other options. And then a lot of times, if your property has so much, you know, a certain amount of equity, you can do, you know, a loan with the hard money. But now we're talking about a way higher interest rate, and the terms may not be in your favor.
Yeah, it's almost worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They kind of put you in a position to fail, right? Because you're ultimately like, hey, it's the instrumental tool is the property, and that's smart protection. So
Yeah, but it's high risk on both sides.
absolutely.
Wow.
So those are things we are seeing. Not as much as we thought we probably would see, but
the reason we're seeing it from my seat, the reason we're seeing it is because we all thought that by summer of 2025, we'd be in a different interest rate environment, and we just aren't. So I think part of this that's happening is a result of, I'll say, a delayed rate softening environment that we thought we'd be in now. Like I thought maybe we'd be in the lower sixes. By now, we're not. Yeah. We're not around that, or high fives in some cases. We can be, I think, historically, where we're going to settle is that 5.5 to 6.5. When we're a couple of years down the road and we look in the rearview mirror at right now, we're going to go, oh man, that was that sweet spot. We should have been at 5.5, but we're not.
Right now, if we were in the low to mid fives, we'd be busy. Last year, we were around the same time, like in August, September.
That's right.
We were there, and we got inundated.
Just slammed.
because it's a big difference in payment for some people.
Yeah.
You know, again,
Yeah.
you got to consider that the median sales price of a home at that time was like the high 800s. It makes a huge difference when your rate drops by 1 to 1.5%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are car payments for some people, so it does make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.